Hello and welcome to episode 322 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
And I'm James Whittingham.
This week, balcony solar is now officially a thing in the UK. I was going to make a joke here about how it's always cloudy and rainy there, but the fourth heat wave of the summer suggests otherwise.
Well, the world is on fire, like literally on fire. So for a joke, we turn to fire weather author John Vaillant for some humor.
When you play this out over the next couple of years, they could be bigger. A whole country could burn. That's conceivable now.
Okay, I guess that wasn't funny.
Yeah, not really funny. California is going to offer an electric car subsidy of $3,500 in a new program called My First EV. If My First EV sounds like the title of a children's book, that's probably because they had to write the legislation at a third grade level so the state legislators could understand it.
Oh boy, all that and a little bit more on this shortened summer edition of the Clean Energy Show.
All right, I'm back home. I saw David Letterman in Montreal. This was a fun thing.
Okay, how far were you away from the talk show host formerly of CBS in the United States?
I was quite close. I was in the first few rows there. So.
Really?
Yeah.
That cost more
great.
than the back few rows, or are you just early?
No, they were expensive tickets for sure, but, I could get up close. It was kind of like an episode of his show. Like it was like a 2-hour episode of his TV show because there's a few jokes. He does a little slideshow joke thing. There's a top 10 list. Paul Schaefer was there. He played some songs. And then a big long interview with Will Arnett, who was the sort of special guest. So, yeah, okay. It was kind of like an episode of his show.
And there's no cameras, right? It wasn't recorded for Netflix.
Okay. No, it wasn't for his thing. Yeah, similar to what he did in Vancouver. So, yeah, it was fun. It's not the kind of thing, obviously, he does a lot of. So I was glad I got to see Dave at least once live. He mentioned Moose Jaw in the introduction, which I thought was fun.
Okay.
He was trying to drop as many Canadian references as possible. So, he when he's starting the show, he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll have you back home in Moose Jaw before you know it."
Little did he know, you're mere 45 minutes away.
I came basically from Moose Jaw. So, yeah, he was trying to do a bunch of Canadian stuff. Paul Schaefer played Taking Care of Business with a little band, and they played it half in French, half in English, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's different. Huh? Those are probably pretty unique. And it was all part of the Just for Laughs Festival, which is really one of the largest comedy festivals in the world.
Yeah, huge comedy festival, big theater, 3,000 or 4,000 seats. It was pretty much full. And then I just got back from Calgary. I'd been traveling a lot. And I saw Nate Bargatze. This is a stand-up comedian. He's kind of the most famous stand-up comedian at the moment. At some point, they said this is now the largest comedy tour in history. Like,
really?
The guy, he's doing dozens and
money
dozens
while the
of
money's
dates.
good. I don't blame him.
Making it while it's good. Dozens of dates, and they're all giant arenas. Like I saw him at the Calgary Saddle Dome, and there was 20,000 people there. It was wild.
That's a big audience for comedy.
Crazy.
You don't get a lot of immediate feedback. There's some people who have sort of regretted that, like Steve Martin got to arenas and he that's when he quit. He said, this isn't working.
Yeah, it seemed to work pretty well. They did it in the round. So the performers would be, in the center of the arena, and then there was also video cameras. So if they've got their back turned to you, you can look at the video camera or whatever. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. And that's where I got my first taste of the forest fire smoke. The smoke hit Calgary first, so
finally,
because
I read bad on Twitter that they hadn't been getting it. That Edmonton's been getting pummeled by climate change weather and everything else, and smoke, and now Calgary, because that's the headquarters for all the oil. Is why I say
and it really just depends on the way the wind is blowing. Sometimes the smoke just turns before it gets to Calgary, and I think last summer we got more smoke than they did. It just depends on the way the wind is blowing. And I know you're going to talk about some of the smoke and fires later on, but I watched a clip on television about, the fires in France that are going on right now. And they interviewed a Canadian tourist who was in the Bordeaux area. And they said, well, we thought we'd be able to avoid the smoke by coming to Europe for our vacation. But little did they know, this is just now the thing.
I actually looked at a smoke map a couple days ago, wondering, where can I vacation? Where should I vacation? And the answer is the moon. I mean, really,
Yeah.
Like, unless you're going to the southern hemisphere in winter, and you could do that, but it's certainly not something I can do.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that a bit later. And it's subsided, I think, somewhat in Spain and France, but they've got another heat wave that's basically starting tomorrow.
They're trying to tamp it down before that heat wave comes, and that's going to be yet another heat wave.
Yeah.
And they've broken records, and it's ridiculous. They're breaking records, like 2-century-old records all the time.
And as we discussed, last week, a lot of the forests in Canada are basically very, very remote. They're in the middle of nowhere. Europe, not as bad a problem in that sense. There's kind of population everywhere in Europe. So I think the fires are maybe easier to get to, but they're still raging and out of control. Not much can be done.
And we've had pretty much, I can't remember a heat wave quite like this. Like, it always cools down at night. And every night it's been 21 degrees at midnight, 23 degrees at midnight, with feels like 35 degrees. And I can't imagine not having air conditioning. Like, there's so many people who are, we talk about people dying other places. I think it's happening here. And of course, we'll never hear about it. The government will never talk about it here. And there's not enough media here to get on that. But somebody should look into the, expected deaths, but beyond the norm here, because I think there's a lot of, poor people can't have, their health is often neglected if you're in poverty, and you won't necessarily have air conditioning. So there's people in Europe talking policy-wise that new construction has to have air conditioning now.
Yeah.
Which, of course, everyone's sort of battling about that. They don't want to be like America, but you have to now. I think you have to, and it's sad. So with the smoke here, as we record this on Tuesday, it's actually subsided to a U.S. air quality index of 68, which is moderate. 50 is the cutoff for good. And it's been up to 164 or something like that. My cutoff for going outside is 130. I stopped going outside at 130. And of course, we have the air quality monitor for the Clean Energy Show outside, a pretty good one from IQ Air, and it is giving me on my phone. I didn't get it for this. This is not why we got it, but it's nice to have instant, updates on what the air quality is.
Yeah.
And some nights it is cool and I want to blow cold air in like I normally do.
Yeah.
But I can't because it's smoky.
Yeah.
So the wildfire, the climate change has caused me to use more air conditioning on our fossil fuel grid here.
Yeah.
Which is a feedback loop. It's just it's a horrible situation. And I know the energy for cooling is outdoing data centers. The increased need for cooling in the world is outdoing data centers by a long shot. So it's the number one new need for energy use, and that's just exacerbating the problem if your energy is not clean. My son lives in a basement suite, as I've said in past weeks, and it's now 28.5 there, which is beyond the threshold for safety for if you're an old person and you have health conditions. So he's managing, but that's a basement. That's a basement.
That's
because it is not. And he can't find mosquito repellent. I spent hours trying to help him find mosquito repellent because he was driving around the city. It's completely sold out. Like it's like toilet paper during the pandemic. You cannot get it. And if you find it, you buy it all because that's what happens when you can't get something. You buy it all. You buy multiple things of it. So,
and we had that wet spring. So the mosquitoes are very bad.
Well, he's up there. They've had thunderstorm after thunderstorm. And of course we had a thunderstorm that wrecked my house.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about that because the insurance got back to us. It's probably going to be around $50,000 with the cars.
Wow.
So they are completely redoing the roof, which I'm very thankful for.
Of your house.
Because I couldn't do it myself. So they showed me pictures around the solar panels on the south face, and it was in really bad shape. And you could see hail damage, the golf ball hail that we had actually do serious damage to the shingles because the shingles are at the end of their life on that side. On the other side, it's like brand new. It's night and day, but because they face the sun. And that's one reason why I was happy about the solar panels, because they would prolong the life of the thing. So they will pay thousands of dollars to have the solar panels removed and reinstalled. And they will replace the siding on 3 sides of the house, but not the north side.
Yeah.
Which is too bad because that's the side that faces the street.
And you may not be able to get a color to match the front.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's even if there was the exact same color, the stuff that's there is faded. I mean, it's on the north side, so it's faded less, but still it's faded. Yeah. So that's just downspouts and Also, they're trying to rake the air conditioning fins. So I was talking to an HVAC contractor yesterday about raking the air conditioner vents, because if they get dented, think of all these tiny little aluminum sharp blade-like things that are right next to each other with a millimeter or two between them. The air needs to blow through there and dissipate the heat from the aluminum fins, which collects the heat. And if those are all dented and smashed, the air can't get through. So my air conditioner is running less efficiently this summer, the hottest summer on record. So what they do is they'll come out for $300 and they'll have a little device for this to spread them out. They'll start where they're spread out okay, then they'll go to where they're not, and they'll spread them to where they should be.
So obviously the hail was able to get to where those fins are?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it got everywhere. It got on windowsills. It pulverized my camper, my pop-up camper, but it's okay. We put it up for the first time in about 3 years. So now I'm looking at RVing again. And now that I'm losing weight, I can get back out and do things again and live my life. And so now I'm thinking, well, when should I go? When we should go for like 10 days, have a nice full decompression from the world in nature. But when?
Yeah.
When do we do it? The good thing is that my kids are now adults, so I can go anytime.
Yeah.
My wife works for a place that is kind of tied to the school district because she's preparing autistic kids to go into the school system. And so that makes it a little difficult for her, but she should be able to do things in the shoulder season. I've always wanted to camp in the shoulder season. I've been looking forward to this for years and years, because then there's nobody around. There's no kids around. Everybody's vacationing, he's taking kids. So it's a lot quieter. You've got a better choice of campsites. So the choice would be, since it snowed during the May long weekend this year at the end of May, that was not a harbinger of what was to come at all. But so the choices would be June or September, and after, starting late September, it starts to get pretty chilly, but with a plug-in campground, we can run extra heat and a little bit of propane heat if we want on our pop-up camper. Also, I was going to mention that this Eagle's Nest that is live on the show, that I had on the show before, that is very popular in California and national news. They had 2 baby eagles, and they have fledged, but the beloved mom, Jackie, has gotten into some health trouble by getting into a fight with visiting eagles, and she is barely hanging on to her life at a wildlife rehabilitation center. And anyone who cares about this, who has watched them, is very distraught, because that's nature, though, I guess. And, she was a reliable mother for years, and there's such a couple that you sort of can attribute human attributes to, the way they tease each other, the way they sort of try to manipulate each other into doing things. And so that's depressing as well as the weather, but I'll get to the weather a little bit later.
All right. I want to talk about balcony solar. This is a favorite subject on the show, and we've talked about how the UK was looking to finalize some rules and allow balcony solar. This is plug-in solar that people typically in apartments will use. You put the solar panel out on the balcony. It just plugs in. It's plug and play. Huge in Germany. But, the regulations usually have to be adjusted for these to be legal and allowed. And the UK has done it. This becomes official on August 27th this year. So after that, you'll be able to do plug-in solar in the UK. This is good news. They're usually on the range of, around 800 watts or so, but they can shave your bills by maybe, 70 to 110 British pounds per year. So these systems can pay for themselves in a few years. And of course, people are looking for a hedge against rising energy prices, which have been very bad lately and very bad in Europe. But if you're able to get some balcony solar, you can cut down your bill. It pays for itself in a few years, and then your bill is permanently lower. So this is great. The government is also reportedly considering plans to bulk buy home plug-in batteries for British homes and distribute them to...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
For low-income families, particularly. So, this is a program that, again, would lower your electricity bill. You'd be able to charge up the battery automatically. It would do it automatically, charge it up when the rates are low. And we'll see if that comes to pass, but that is a program the government is considering in the UK.
Well, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the small batteries that you can get with plug-in. Like, say you live in an apartment, you have a balcony, and you put up 3, 4, 5 panels to your balcony, whatever your balcony can hold. and you run that to your house, well, you can get an option where you have these little portable battery pack.
Yeah.
Things that you can get for camping and other things, or,
Yeah.
power backup. They're not that big, but you can charge them up because you're not home during the day.
Exactly.
And your meter doesn't run in reverse. So if you are out working, you could charge it up with your balcony solar and then have that feed into your system once you come home from work and start, cooking, whatever.
Yeah. And all of this helps. And, everybody wants to help, I think, in the climate emergency. Everybody wants to be more clean, more green. And this is a way for the grid to become stronger if more people do this, the panels and the batteries.
I always wanted to myself. And when I was younger, I certainly couldn't afford to. We didn't have a mortgage to play with to add it to our mortgage, which we did. And I wished that I could do something. And you couldn't because it's just not possible. But I like the idea. And I think that with the batteries getting cheaper, that this is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to start hearing about this more and more. And government policy makes it standardized. People get certified for installing these things because you would have to install them. They're not like the balcony ones where you just plug them in, which is the great part of them. You would have to install them. And that, with energy prices in the UK, sometimes being quite high, you could get cheaper overnight power perhaps in the future and power that up and save a lot of money just because the government is helping you out in that way. And it's also helping the grid, right? It's helping everybody.
Makes the grid more resilient. It's a win-win for everybody.
Very interesting stuff. Let's get to the fires burning around the world. I can't possibly cover this week, Brian. There's so much going on everywhere. There are fires where you and I live in the northern reaches, but mostly they're in Ontario, which is a couple provinces east of us, and as well as in British Columbia, which is not unusual. A couple provinces the other direction towards the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, it's just, it's bad. Of course, Oregon is actually the cause of most of our smoke right now because of the jet stream. And that smoke is continuing on to cover the eastern seaboard of the United States, the northern states, and even possibly down to Florida, the forecast is going. So John Vaillant was on CBC Vancouver this morning. I recorded a clip of him. He has been featured on our show before. He's the author of Fire Weather, an excellent book about the Fort McMurray fires that happened 10 years ago, which is the oil sands city, the city that sprouted up in the boreal forests of northern Alberta to support the oil sands industry. And it is a rich town. People come and go and lots of money, and it burnt down very quickly. It's a fascinating book. It's very extensive. It's not brief in any way, but he's been on media commenting a lot about what's going on in the world right now. I just wanted his take.
Well, climate scientists and fire experts have been expecting this, unfortunately. What's still surprising, though, is just the scope of it. So many countries, so many different landscapes, literally from Norway to Algeria, are experiencing record-breaking fires all at the same time. And the fact that Europe has had not one, but 4 major heat waves roll through it, and we're not even halfway through the summer yet. So the intensity, the scope, the scale, the ubiquity of the fire is what is really shocking and frightening. And when you play this out over the next couple of years, they could be bigger. A whole country could burn. That's conceivable now.
Yeah, and it seems plausible based on what's happening in Europe right now. And as I've said before, we're a climate optimism podcast, but we know the climate gets worse from here. And there's scary feedback loops that we don't know about, that we can't exactly say what's going to happen. I'm used to a blue sky summer. We have a gray, hazy summer, sometimes unhealthy to open your windows, unhealthy to spend much time outside, unhealthy to exercise outside. And I think one of the most remarkable things is that it's happening both in North America and Europe. It doesn't always happen at the same time. Quite frequently, it's one or the other. Right now, it seems to be happening everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, that, at least in the Western Northern Hemisphere, July 2026 is shaping up to be one of the worst wildfire months the planet has ever seen. With massive fires burning simultaneously across North America and Europe, France is experiencing its most devastating wildfire season on record, and the records are longer than ours. Spain, Portugal, Greece, and other Mediterranean countries are battling relentless blazes fueled by record-breaking heat. And Canada continues to fight hundreds of active wildfires stretching from British Columbia to Ontario, with smoke once again drifting thousands of kilometers across the continent. And these fires they're all kind of the same. They're burning so hot that they can't stop them.
Yeah.
Like even when we talked about fires not being near populations in Canada, but even the ones that are really hard to stop. And it's not a matter of personnel or technology in most cases. It's a matter of the fires are too hot to stop. And then you get winds. You get winds from hot weather as well a lot. Or the fire creates its own weather. It creates lightning. It creates really strong winds, which you can see many videos of on the internet if you're looking for what's going on in the world right now. Entire communities have been evacuated. 330,000, a third of a million people are displaced right now in Europe. That is dumbfounding. It's just crazy. And that's climate change in the first world happening right now. People in the first world are getting displaced. It's not just, rising tides in poorer countries that you hear about where there's going to be millions in the future, refugees. So Canada is continuing to fight hundreds of active wildfires, and the smoke is affecting, if you don't have fires like us, we live in the prairies, we're still affected by the smoke. Extreme heat, prolonged drought, and powerful winds have turned forests into tinderboxes, allowing fires to spread at terrifying speeds. Scientists say this is exactly what a warming climate looks like: longer fire seasons, bigger megafires, and more destructive fire behavior becoming the new normal. And it certainly seems like it's becoming the new normal. Yeah. Western Europe has just recorded its hottest June ever, and the consequences are already showing up. More than 10,000 excess deaths have been linked to unprecedented heat wave, while major wildfires are burning near Bordeaux, France, Madrid, and in Spain. Parts of Madrid were evacuated, I believe, earlier. Hundreds of thousands of acres have already gone up in smoke, and some of these fires are now so intense they're creating their own weather, as I've said. They're producing these towering fire clouds that generate powerful winds and lightning. So the lightning starts more fires, or it starts it further away, right? It in advance of where the fire is going. It's so dry. The winds that it's creating, it's nuts what is going on. Scientists say this is another example of what's becoming known as weather whiplash. A wet winter caused vegetation to grow rapidly, but an exceptionally hot and dry start to summer turned all that new growth into perfect wildfire fuel. And that's kind of what happened in California a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, is they had a really wet period. A lot of new growth happened. Sometimes growth doesn't happen at all if it's dry in California. So all this new fuel grew and then dried out for months and months, and then the fires came. It's the same pattern we saw last year. So record rainfall early in 2024 produced thick grasses and shrubs. Then a prolonged dry spell baked everything into tinder. And as the climate warms, these dramatic swings between very wet and very dry conditions are becoming more common, and they're creating the ideal conditions for larger, more destructive wildfires. So warmer air in a warming world, holds more moisture, producing more drought. Because the air is warm, it's able to hold the moisture or take the moisture from the land and hold it and store it in the air. So the land becomes drought prone. And then when it does dump it, there's extreme rainfall, right? The warm air, when it does decide to dump it, when the conditions are right, there's floods. And we've experienced floods like that around here. I know people who have been affected by those floods. Yeah. And a paper published last year in Nature Reviews likened the atmosphere to a sponge that is growing larger as the planet warms. A bigger sponge soaks up more moisture from plants, soils, lakes, and rivers, creating drier conditions on the ground. And it also takes longer to fill up before emptying out, leading to longer stretches between bouts of rain. But when the sponge does empty, it unleashes more water, producing more extreme rainfall, says The Guardian.
Yeah, there was a news story about flooding in our province because we had a ton of rain, these big floods. And around here, farmers, they always have hail insurance. Hail is one of the things that can really destroy your crops. But you can't get insurance, apparently, for too much rain. Like there's a lot of people's fields now are kind of swampy because they had so much rain, depending on where you are in the province. But there's no insurance for that. There's no, too much rain or, flood insurance for farmers. It's a real problem.
Well, speaking of insurance, if I'm a $50,000 claim and I'm one of thousands of houses in my neighborhood hit by one dinky little weird hailstorm. It wasn't a big storm. It was just something that just popped up. And they have storm teams, and they have the insurances, they have special teams working around the clock 7 days a week because of so much storm damage.
Yeah.
And we talked about Calgary. Calgary gets hit by hail all the time, and you can't get insurance in some neighborhoods because of that city of, 1.5, 2 million people.
Yeah.
You can't get in, you can't even, if you have vinyl siding, you can't get insurance. Yeah. So I don't really have the option of not putting vinyl siding on because it's still the cheapest option. Yeah. So I'm just waiting for the next event. How long will it be? Will it be 10 years? Will it be 1 year? Before I go through all this again, my insurance rates are going. Everybody's insurance rates are going to go up due to climate change.
Yeah, and I just got back from Calgary, and the hotel we stayed at downtown, they really recommended, it was kind of expensive, but they recommended parking in their parking garage. And the guy made a comment of saying, like, yeah, the park is a little bit expensive, but if we get one of those hailstorms, you'll be really glad that you did it. And, we didn't get a hailstorm, but it's totally true. But I was thinking about another thing, thinking back 10, 20 years ago when we first started to think about, okay, well, what are the visible effects of climate change? What are those going to be? I thought it might be, rising sea level. And that has happened in some, remote places and islands. But I kind of thought, Florida's going to be underwater. That would be the first real sign of climate change. And of course, we expected hotter temperatures, but I did not expect that massive wildfires around the world would be the first, very noticeable effect of climate change.
I assumed it would be droughts, that we would, because we live in an agricultural country, that there'd be more droughts and there'd be more bad years, because we lived through some of those in the 80s. I didn't expect that the forests would burn in such a way that it would affect literally hundreds of millions of people in North America alone, just in North America. And then even go over to Europe. I mean, you might get some of our smoke over there if the weather pattern changes. I mean, it's just, and I didn't think my life would be that disrupted.
Yeah.
I thought the farmers' lives would be disrupted. I didn't think joy would leave because I can't experience, we live in a winter that gets cold. You want a beautiful blue sky summer to do your thing. Everybody does. Everybody here makes the most of their summers, generally speaking. If you're in the middle class and you're doing okay, you have a lakefront cottage or you're camping. I know people who, it's usually one or the other. You got a cottage in the family, or you have a camper. Then people buy giant campers here, right out of their first job and go live in them all summer and do the best they can and blare music and annoy people. But anyway.
Yeah. So I've been archiving all of my old films, and so I've been going through a lot of old film footage, and I might bring a clip next week, but I went through an interview that I did with you in 2009 for my Generation X documentary. And we shot it in your backyard, and then we walked out into the field behind your house, and it was the most beautiful summer evening you could possibly imagine, with blue skies and the sun setting and no clouds. And that's
beautiful. What it was every gosh darn day.
Yeah.
Every day was like that in the summer. I mean, there was the odd, 3 days that you complain about, but we'd have beautiful summers. It's gone now.
Yeah.
It's gone. Just life is different, and there's nowhere to go to escape it.
Yeah.
We know it's going to get worse, but we really do need to do something about it, people. And Vaillant was talking about how North American politicians are still got their head in the sand, including Canada's. And European politicians are much better, and they're admitting and talking openly that we knew this was coming, and we really do have to act, because this is nothing. This is just the beginning. It gets a hell of a lot worse from here.
So it was a fun interview from 2009, and I think I will bring a clip next week that's clean energy related. So that should be fun.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. From Canary Media, California is going to offer a $3,500 subsidy, and it's for first-time EV buyers. And of course, in the U.S., there's no longer the federal tax credit that was there for a long time. You could get $7,500 tax credit on an EV. That's gone. California is still interested in encouraging people to buy electric cars. So they've come up with this new plan, and it's going to offer $3,500 subsidy, but it's for first-time EV buyers only. And their rationale is they're trying to get the best bang for the buck. And studies have shown once you buy an EV, you don't go back. You don't go back to buying a gas car. It's extremely rare that anybody does that. So they figured out, well, if we just target the first-time EV buyers. They'll get that first EV. They'll never buy another gas car. So that's what they're planning to do. It's not quite available yet, but California has voted to go ahead with this.
Well, I've had great incentives over the years, including when we started the podcast. They came and went. I don't know. I assume they have nothing now, right? They have nothing.
I think so. Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
And this is just the new one for first-time buyers, which is great because that's the people who need to go EV is the first-time buyers.
Yeah. And it's called My First EV, which is, and it sounds like a kid's book, which is kind of funny.
It does.
But,
It does. And, well, Godspeed to them. I hope they get people into EVs because it's better than the alternative. If you'd like to contact us, please do. The Clean Energy Show is waiting for your email. Clean Energy Show, all one word, at gmail.com. Our voicemail is online. You can leave us one at a webpage called speakpipe.com/cleanenergyshow, where we get to hear your voice, always a treat. And of course, we are an independent podcast that is powered by listeners like you who support the show with financial donations on Patreon. You'll get ad-free episodes, early access, and an exclusive behind-the-scenes content, and a monthly bonus episode, which I believe is coming up next week or so. And you can get discounts on merch and other stuff. Those are called perks in the Patreon community. Patreon.com/cleanenergypod. Patreon.com/cleanenergypod. The link is in your show notes should you want to go there. And why wouldn't you? Because we have free content there, including the John Vaillant interview. For everybody, basically, our social media content is all there. Because social media is a scandalous playground now where no one wants to play.
Yeah. All right. From Renewable Energy magazine, we were talking about pumped hydro in the UK on a recent episode. And I just thought this was interesting because it's talking about the established pumped hydro that they have in the UK. And this is in North Wales. Dinorag is the name of the plant, and it's been running for 40 years now. This is one of the largest pumped hydro power plants in Europe, and it's known for its rapid response, delivers up to 1,320 megawatts of power within 12 seconds from standby, which is amazing, and up to 1,800 megawatts in under a minute. So with characteristics like that, the plant has a vital role to play in grid resilience, frequency response, and providing capacity equivalent to around 1 million homes in the UK. Like this is a huge, huge deal. But anyway, it is now 40 years old, so they have plans to extend the life of it. It's, things don't last forever, but 40 years is a pretty good time so far. So basically, there's a program now. They're going to refurbish it, new pumps, new infrastructure, different things. And it's expected to extend the life of the plant by at least 25 years. This is a good thing.
Yeah, a little bit cheaper than refurbishing nuclear, I would imagine. Anyway, we have no lightning round this week because of the summer vacation. We are partially on vacation. We have 1 foot in vacation, 1 foot in the show.
Yeah.
But we'll be back soon with more lightning round.
So yeah, remember to find us around the web, Clean Energy Pod on social media, cleanenergyshow@gmail.com. And as always, remember to hit that follow button or the subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast. And we do this every week.
And our Clean Energy Patreon super supporters in the Clean Club Executive Branch, Green Bastard, Brent Rodley, Tiernan, they get a shout out every week. Other people in the Clean Club get a shout out once a month, which is coming up soon. Thank you all for supporting our podcast, and I look forward to seeing you again in 7 days.
See you next week.